We all know that focus is one of the most valuable assets. But do you think that you're easily distracted? How can we focus when there is so many things happening around us? And when we come to the conclusion of focus itself, there is so many things that we can't focus, and there are so many things happening that it takes time for us to focus. And focus is not easy. Yes, we all know that, and we all have seen phases, let it be exams, let it be even some difficult points where your mind needs to be calm and has to take some action. That is where focus plays most important role. Let's take an example when we were at school itself. When our minds play trick on us, we know that we need to have some development skills when it comes to focus itself. Continue watching this video if you want to master your focus skills when it comes to business, because this is gonna help you more and more. You can also think of implementing these points that I keep telling you as key lessons so that you can run your business with complete focus. I'm Vasha Renkumar. Welcome to the Freedom Business English channel. Do not forget to subscribe and download our Freedom app. When it comes to focus, we remember that when we were in school, during exam times, it was really hard for us to sit continuously and study and then go write our exams. Few people were comfortable with it because they were really strong at focusing. But not everyone can be the stronger ones when it comes to focus. That's where we used to understand and develop ourselves eventually by taking time and then studying, by making sure that we study a month in prior or at least a week in prior rather than last moment study. This is how we started building ourselves and making sure that whatever we get to focus, whatever time we have to invest, let's do it now. And when it comes to the next part, which is business, it's really hard. Because sometimes you have so many things on your plate that it's really hard to think whether I can focus now, and if at all I sit and focus now, what are the other works that are going to come up? How will I make sure that I'll give time to one thing when there is so much going on, when there is so much happening around? That's where I'm going to give you these key points that you can actually use and implement, because these are going to help you go so far when it comes to business and focusing on it. Because these might sound like a very common ones, but this is the one that you have to understand. Are you implementing it? Because this is something that we know. Is this what we do? Is the question that you got to ask yourself. Starting off with, build an imaginary wall around you. I'm very sure that you all have your own space. And I'm very sure that you all think of working in that space and then going, sitting somewhere peacefully and working on one particular thing that needs too much of attention. But whatever you do, make sure that you have an imaginary wall around yourself and then sit there and focus completely rather than getting distracted. When you have an imaginary wall, or you can even choose physical wall, go and sit in a place which you like and has nobody around to distract you. And also make sure that when you have those imaginary boundaries set around you, you have to keep your thoughts within. Why am I saying imaginary walls is only because when you have too many people around you, when you have very much space who are walking around doing something, you easily tend to get distracted. Most of them who are very creative and have too many ideas always sit alone and start thinking, because sitting alone, building the imaginary walls around you gives you so many ideas and lets you focus easily. Probably you might lose track for like 2 or 3 minutes, but then again, you're on and back to work. That's how it works. Building an imaginary wall does not only justify what you're doing in there, but also gives you a clear-cut idea and a calm mind so that nobody else is distracting you. Next one is, make sure you're not available all the time. We all know that when we make ourselves available, one work comes in and then later you go out for something else and then another one and then another one, and there is no end to this chain. And when you come back to your work, which you initially started, by then you're already too late. That is where you have to make sure that you're not available all the time. Make sure that you have your own priorities set. Make things clear in your mind that you have this and this to do, and what is the time that you need for yourself to focus on the business, because there are so many things that you have to follow when it comes to business. You have to deal with finance, you have to deal with the marketing, you have to deal with the sales, you have to understand the entire structure. When so many things are happening in your mind, it's not that easy to focus on one way. That is where you have to make sure that you sit alone, think and have your own space rather than gushing into every problem and then trying to solve this all by yourself. Try to have a team which helps you in doing all of that, because this needs your own time and you have to focus on the business more than anybody else, because you know what are the things that you are expecting from that business. Next one is switch on the airplane mode. We all know that what airplane mode actually means. When we tell that switch on your mental airplane mode, this is one of the most important things. You have to make sure that you have your own time. I'm very sure that in a particular point of time, you would have thought that this time I'm going to just sit, work on what I have to, and then focus easily, because this work has to be completed very quick. Until and unless there is an emergency, stick to that, make sure that you're following that, and keep yourself unavailable to a lot of people, because that is a time which is more needed rather than thinking and solving minute problems which aren't even your concern. Make sure that you sit, think and put yourself under that airplane mode so that you can analyze and then tell the world that you're busy right now. And until and unless it's an emergency or it's really urgent, you do not have to respond to it, because you have something to think about or something to learn about. Sometimes learning gives you a major lesson where you have to understand and then implement it, and your brain happens to stop if there is something really new that you haven't heard before. This is why use it during this airplane mode, because this mode is completely for you yourself, so that you are not that easily distracted. Let it be if you're at home, let it be if you're at office. Make sure you have your own personal space and own personal time where you can think, because business is not a small thing. You have to thinking about it over and over for a long term. So make sure that you have an eye and think easily and keen about it. Next one is always make use of your early hours. Scientifically proven fact is that early morning or the early hours always has major thinking skills than the moving on daytime. When we think about this particular fact is that your brain tends to have a nice sleep, and then when you wake up, you tend to think a lot. You tend to think that what if I would have done this? What if I would have done that? Should have I told this? Should have I not done that? Hey, this is a smart idea. Well, I don't think so. I did that in a right way. This is where you try to implement many more ideas, because your brain has a fresh start, and meditating for some time can actually give yourself more and more time when it comes to your level of thinking. Especially if you actually sit and meditate for 5 minutes early in the morning, you are going to have so many new thoughts that you wouldn't have even explored, and you wouldn't even know that you were so much skilled. That's why always make sure of using these early hours, because eventually when you talk about the work itself, later on you're going to get busy with so many things, and your mind is as usual clouded. That's why make sure that you have the advantage of early hours by yourself. Next one is have a rough draft. When we all know that when we are trying to focus and when we have our own time, first thing we do is sit in front of a blank paper and keep wondering for a long time. We do not even analyze and understand what is the main source and what are the things that we could do and what should I do right now. We are always blank initially at starting, but that is what you do not do. You always make sure that you write whatever that comes into your brain first. You just put that on the paper, because that is going to give you so many things, as we all know, that connect the dots later. That is where first, whatever comes into your mind, put it down on the paper, because that will help you analyze and understand what is more important for you. And it's easier to understand that way rather than putting yourself in a place where you would have felt that I thought about it before and now I forgot. So let's not do that, guys. Let's make sure that whatever comes into your mind, put that on paper, because it becomes much more easier to think and talk about. Hope I've given you enough information when it comes to the entire way to master your focus on business. And also do not forget to like, share and subscribe. When I'm talking about business, I would also want you guys to know that download our Freedom app, because it's got way more courses when it comes to business and marketing, and you're going to see the focus and determination, how it has helped people and what are the heights that they have reached. And this is going to even motivate you and let you focus towards your dream as well. More than 800 courses are present in our app, and you can even learn about personal finance if you want to know about schemes, and if you also want to know about subsidiaries and many more things. Even if you have to know about stock market, you can definitely download our app. And moving on to the part where it's about organic farming. Organic farming also has courses where you can learn about how to start this particular course, and then you can also learn about how to start this particular business when it comes to farming, and you get to learn many things in detail, all the way from equipment used till the investment made. You get to learn the challenges as well. This has been done by more than 1500 mentors, and you get to learn everything in detail. And that's a wrap on this video. Thank you so much. Get wise and break free.
you.